Yamaha have been making flutes for over 60 years, and they make something for every skill level, from professional to student. Today we're here with Gavin, a Yamaha ambassador, looking at the Yamaha 2 Series, their entry-level flute, which is a really good place to start. Let's have a look. So the Yamaha 2 Series, we start with the 212, which is the beginner level of the 2 Series. This is a perfect first flute for anyone to start with. What do you like about them?
So yeah, exactly. The Yamaha 2 Series is the student beginner flute from Yamaha. What I like about them, if I can just pick it up,
of course.
is that basically the pedigree of Yamaha over 60 years, they've put a huge amount of technical expertise into creating student instruments that are ideally suited to help beginners of any age to actually make a quick start on their given instrument, in this case the flute. So this is a really high quality instrument. It's got really good quality pads. The most important aspect for me in any instrument is the sort of the head joint and the mouthpiece hole. So Yamaha spent a long time developing this to be very user friendly. So the idea is a flute can be quite tricky to make a sound initially, but this the way they've designed the embouchure hole is so that it's basically makes it easier for beginners to get that sound initially. It
can be really disheartening if you start and you just can't make a sound at all.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's something that we may talk about later on, but essentially the thing you spend the most time with when you actually start the flute is this part, which is just the head joint.
Just the head joint. Sometimes a teacher will encourage you to just start by making a noise and making the sound.
Exactly, yeah. So if you have a flute with a bad embouchure hole, and there are many that exist, they actually are a hindrance to helping somebody make a good start to an instrument. So this is something that Yamaha have really worked on. And not only that, it gives people a good start, but it also, there's enough in the head joint for them to develop their sound so that they actually become, they make their own personal sounds and develop nicely with the instrument. Moving down the flute, it's just a really well designed instrument in terms of the key work, the layout. It's got a splitty mechanism on this one, and it's relatively lightweight. So again, if it's a younger beginner, it's not going to be too heavy an instrument for them to be able to use.
It's got everything you need, but nothing that you don't. So it's that perfect weight, because obviously when you're playing for a while, you do get a little bit of strain on your hands. It does get a little bit heavy, but you want to be able to elongate your practice so you can get better quicker. Yeah,
exactly.
With all of the 2 Series, you've got the offset G, which is obviously really good for hand placement and technique from the beginning, basically.
Yeah, especially for again, sort of younger beginners, with their hand sizes being that little bit smaller. So in terms of flute making, a traditional French flute, for example, would have inline. So this is the offset G key that we're talking about just here. And on a French flute, it would actually be in line with the rest of the key work, which then means that the third finger has to travel further to get to the key. So for smaller hands, the offset G means that it actually fits more naturally under the shape of the hand and makes it easier for beginners to get a good technique and not to struggle or feel any strain in their hand position.
And it's something that's often used on a high level flutes now as well, isn't it? It's quite a common feature across the whole range.
I use it on my flute. My flute is a handmade flute with an offset G. So it's from beginners all the way through to professional. And I guess when you're more advanced, it comes down to personal preference. If you want to move to an inline G, you can do, but there's no real loss or gain. It's personal preference.
Yeah, of course. And then all of the 2 Series are also nickel silver.
Yeah.
So that will give you that brilliant sort of clear sound.
Yeah, I mean, nickel silver plated, so they're durable, and it gives you a nice sort of bright sound. It's sort of resonance. Yeah.
also a feature that you can get on the 212 is the curved head. So this is the 212 standard model, and then you get the 212U model, which comes with both the straight head that you can see on that flute there, but also the curved heads that you can see here. And obviously that is a really good feature for anyone with smaller arms, smaller hands.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the point with the flute, and I guess this is true of a lot of instruments in the music world. If you think about it, they're not necessarily natural positions that you would adopt in everyday life. So you don't walk around with your hands about here. And so for a young beginner, or anybody that is smaller, or even sometimes people have hand injuries or arm injuries. You know, there's many different ways that this can come into play and be useful. But it basically brings everything closer in so that you've got less strain, and also for a smaller person, rather than reaching out like this and then having a bad position, they actually learn to have a good hand position and relaxed playing position without any strain, so that as they grow, they can move on to a straight head joint and maintain the same technical position for their playing. Yeah.
And then that model does come with both. So as you progress and as you maybe grow and or get more comfortable with it, you can just go straight onto it. You don't need to worry about getting a new flute, anything like that. You can just change it over and swap between.
Yeah, so it's perfect. Yeah,
perfect for a beginner. And then you've got the 272, which is the upgrade from the 212, but still in the 2 Series family.
Yes. Yeah, so the 272 is the open hole version. Now, I guess this is another thing that comes down to teacher preference and I don't know, sort of cultural differences in many ways. So in the French flute school tradition, it was always very common to start on an open hole flute. So the touch pieces are the open holes here. So it's like 2, 3 on the left hand, 1, 2, 3 on the right hand. So if you've got big enough hands and your hand position is good enough, then there's no reason not to sort of try starting on this instrument. Also, the fact that they come with plugs, so you can start with it as a closed hole flute.
Yes.
And then you can gradually
train
progress.
Yourself.
Yeah, so it gives you that sort of option. So it's one of those things that you probably find that most people would go for a closed hole flute, but basically on the advice of their teacher would be the way to go. But this just gives another option, and then it opens up the possibilities for using extended techniques and other things as you progress through the flute, because although we're talking about this as an entry-level instrument, this is a really good flute that you could play on for years and years and years. So you could get onto quite advanced music and techniques on an instrument such as this one.
Yeah, and I mean, the open hole really does encourage good technique, doesn't it? Because you have to make sure that your fingers are in a very specific position to make sure that you are sealing that hole properly and not getting any weird squeaks or harmonics or something that you don't want.
Yeah.
So it does encourage you to put your fingers right in the right position, which obviously with the closed hole on the 212, you don't have to worry about that. No. So while you're making sure your embouchure's right and you can get through the range and through the octaves and everything, you don't need to worry, but you've got that advanced feature on the 270 that you can go to.
Yeah, correct, yeah. And with the closed hole flutes, because of the fact they are closed hole, you can be slightly off in terms of where your finger position is. Obviously, it's ideal to try and keep your fingers centered on the key cups.
And you can feel it because there's like that little bit of a divot in the middle of the key.
Yeah, so they're designed so you can sort of feel where the center of the key actually is. But obviously, as you were saying, with the closed hole, you have to center the fingers properly, otherwise you won't get all of the tones from the flute, and you'll find that as you go down to the bottom notes, they won't sound at all. So it's possibly something that's worth considering.
Maybe if you're like a returning player, somebody who played when they were younger and they want to, like an adult learner who wants to come back to it, so you just sort of come back with the exact and proper technique, maybe.
Yeah.
And then also on the 272, you have the option of having a silver lip riser, which obviously changes that sound a little bit that you're getting.
Yeah, so the silver lip plate is the thing. So essentially, in a flute, the material is very important in terms of the density of the sound that you can produce. And there's different materials which we'll talk about a bit more as we go through. But this is sort of in terms of this series, the silver lip plate adds just that little bit of depth or density to this end of the flute, which, as I said before, is probably the most important aspect.
Yeah, that's where all your sound is going to come from. It's where everything's originating.
Yes.
So it needs to be perfect at that end.
Yeah. So although it's still the same design of the embouchure hole, it just gives you, or the added silver lip plate just gives a bit more maybe sort of tonal depth to the instrument. And that's it, essentially. Again,
it's an advancing feature to sort of help change your sound as you advance and sort of want to get a little bit more of a professional sound, I guess.
Yeah, and I guess like you were saying before, if it's a returning player who's coming back to playing again, but maybe they don't have the budget to go for a solid silver head flute or something higher up in the range, it just gives that little bit of extra quality to the sound that you can develop.
Yeah, for sure. Also in the 2 series, which we don't have here today, is the YFL 222. Very similar to the 212, but without the E mechanism. So it doesn't have the split E.
Yeah.
So obviously the split E helps you with the 3rd octave range generally.
Yes.
Try and keep the stability of the note at that end.
Yeah. So the 222, I think that's one of the main differences. The other is the material of the pads and also the head joint cork. So in every flute you have a head joint cork, which is sort of roughly about this part of the flute, and it has a silver or silver plated reflector. So in terms of the pads and the cork, I think the pads are sort of a synthetic, moisture-resistant material, which is designed to be more durable. So perhaps that gives you less time in between maintenance of the instrument, depending on how you look after the instrument. And then similarly, the head joint cork itself is made from a synthetic material, which prevents sort of any shrinkage, as cork is a natural material. It prevents movement, so it keeps that as a very sort of stable part of the instrument.
And obviously the way that these flutes are sort of manufactured and created, they are really easy to repair. They're quite good for repairers, aren't they? Because you can get to all the tiny screws and all the adjustments really easily.
Yes, yeah. So the sort of this most recent design of the Yamaha 2 series, you've got French pointed key arms on the non-touch pieces, which adds extra strength and durability to the overall instrument. Also means that when you're pressing keys down, it's actually sort of adds just that little bit of extra weight, so that the keys seal properly over the tone hole.
It's really important to have a good seal, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And then, as you said, like the adjusting screws are very easily accessible. So from the point of view of making minor adjustments to an instrument, they're sort of ideally set up from that point of view. And with good maintenance and good care while you're actually playing the instrument, they should be relatively low maintenance in terms of repair work that's required.
I mean, I've had a 211, which is the predecessor to the 212, for about 15 years, and still very much functional, still works, and I still use it quite a lot. So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the quality of the instruments is borne out by their longevity, and so if they're well looked after, they will last for decades.
Yeah. Perfect. So would you say that the Yamaha 2 Series is a good place for somebody to start?
Definitely. I think as a beginner's instrument or somebody returning to the flute playing after some time away, they're just a really high quality instrument that provides any player the opportunity to develop their playing, be it as a beginner or somebody who's trying to get their playing going again. They're just designed to be a really user-friendly instrument, so that you can develop your own sound quite quickly and continue to develop from there.
Thank you for talking to us about these flutes today. If you've got any more questions or comments about the Yamaha 2 Series or any of their other flutes, please pop them in the comments below and we'll do our best to answer them. If you'd like to see any more content like this, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you. Bye.